What's up, Facebook? Or rather, what's up, Megan, and also me watching on another screen. So we're talking Canva again today, you guys. Specifically, we're going to talk about how to create Instagram stories within Canva. It gets a little convoluted there because you are going to need to post to your Instagram story natively to the Instagram app. And you have to do that on your mobile device. So if you were planning, months ahead, or you're like making sure that you have enough content that you want to be able to post, Canva is a great outlet for you to be able to do that. I am going to go over how you would create that in Canva. I also want to make sure that you guys know that you have so many more options in the Instagram app when it comes to stories. So if you're looking for basic, like across the board, if you're doing some sort of campaign, Canva works really well. And then you can always add to it like little flourishes and stuff in Instagram. And I can show you what that looks like. So real quick, just to kind of preface this, we have Romance Genre coming up, Romance GenreCon coming up in August. And we are running a story campaign for that. And so we're highlighting local romance authors. And in order for us to do that, we're going to utilize stories, and I'm creating those in Canva. So I'm going to show you what that process looks like. So that's kind of what we're going to be going over today. So let me share my screen with you guys, and we will go ahead and get started. Okie dokie. So we are in our lovely Canva app, and we use our search bar. I like typing in Instagram story. You can see that it pops up right there. You see that the pixels are 1080 by 1920. I do want you to know that when you're on, if you're searching for Facebook story, see that it's the exact same size. So whether you are creating a story specific to Facebook or Instagram, it's going to be the same size. And if you're posting to Instagram, you have the option to also share it to your Facebook story. So if you're trying to hit both audiences, definitely post it from Instagram and then share it to your Facebook account. That being said, well, we go back to our Instagram just to keep it all the same. And we're going to click on that, and it'll open us up whether we want to start with a template or create a blank design. If you want to go through and scroll, you absolutely can. I like starting blank and searching from there. And it is going to, right back at it, you guys. So we've got our templates that we want to look at. Right off the bat, I want to search for something like hearts, maybe, because this is Romance GenreCon. It's all about romance novels and love. So I want to find something that maybe has something to do with that. So let's see if I like this. This is nice. All right. So let's zoom in on that just a little bit so you guys can actually see what I'm doing here. We've got our little heart. This is like little heart confetti. We can, of course, move that around if we want. We've got our image here, and it has a shape behind it that looks like ripped paper. We can move that, of course. I'm going to keep it where it was. And then we've got our pale pink background. Well, pale pink's not really Romance GenreCon style, so I'm going to go ahead and change that to a black background. Like it. It's edgy. And then I can click on this element here, and it gives me the colors that are in that particular element. I'm going to change this bright pink to a brighter red. I'm going to change the pale pink to a white. And I want to make sure that I change all of those pale pinks, which will change those pale pinks down here as well. Should have done that on the first one. And then I'm going to change this pink to just a slightly different color red. And I'm going to change all down there. So I do need to come down here and make sure that that all looks right. Looks good to me. So another thing that I want to do is swap out this picture. I don't know who these people are. So I'm going to go to my uploads, and one of our local authors that we want to highlight is Jana McGregor. She's awesome, you guys. If you don't know who Jana is, make sure to check her out. And all we have to do is take that photo and drag it over into our design. We can click on that, and we can, of course, center that a little bit. And we can move these objects around by pressing click on your element, click on the other one while holding the shift key. That's going to give you the option to move them both at the same time. I'm going to make it a little smaller and bring it down a little bit, center it, and we're going to call that good to go. All right, another thing, happy Valentine's Day from Mary and Jack. Don't know Mary and Jack, but I like the fact that there's already text in here for me to use. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to say local author highlight. And that's very small, so I'm going to go ahead and change my font to something quite a bit bigger than that. There we go. And, you know, I can swap out the color of that text too. White kind of pops on that black background. Again, you can see how there's like some wider spacing between these letters. Here's your spacing tab right here. You can click on that and you can play around with the letter spacing, right? I can make it like really, really small or even wider than it already is. I like, I don't know, stuff a little closer together definitely works a lot better for something like this. And then your line spacing, of course, if you wanted those words to be really separated, you could do that, but I like keeping it nice and tight. So we've got our local author highlight. That's kind of like a title almost that we've got on this story. And I want to make sure that her name is down here. So I'm going to just take this text that's already existing in our design and duplicate it. I'm going to drag that down. And I'm going to say Anna McGregor. And we can keep that there. You know, I might make this a little bigger so her name really pops here. And that may be, you know, what the first iteration of our story looks like, right? So we want to make sure that we've got enough design elements in there that it's visually appealing for people, but not necessarily like overloading them with too much. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to continue to give them more information by creating a second page. And this is going to be the second page of your story. And you can create as many pages as you want. The thing to remember about your story is that it only stays on your page for 24 hours. So anything that we post today, genre con or not, is going to be gone within 24 hours. And then we just get to create a new one. So what I'm doing right now is creating the template for this local author highlight. So that when I finally get all of this done, all I have to do moving forward is swap out headshots, swap out names, and you'll see what else we're going to swap out after that. So moving on to page 2, we have her most recent book cover here. You can see that it's just the cover, right? Like this doesn't have any depth. It doesn't look like a book. I mean, I guess it looks like a book, but we want to give it some dimension. So what I'm going to do is click on this book cover and go to effects. And we played around with this last week, but these smart mock-ups, I think they're super cool. And especially if you are an author, if you are promoting a book, they've got lots of options for you there. I'm scrolling really quickly, but let me just kind of go over some of these. You can put your image on a smartphone. So if you were selling like an ebook version of this, we could do that. Anything on a laptop screen, a business card, greeting cards, different frames. And finally, we get down here to our book options. We can select any of these, but I like this one that just is kind of plain and normal, and it lets me be as creative as I want within the design itself. So this is going to default to a white page, but if we click on that book 6 again, it's going to give me some options. It's filling out the entire picture on that design, but if I wanted to fit, it shrinks it a little bit. Of course, I can do a custom, and you know, as long as it looks the way you want it to look, that's all that matters. And then I can change the object color. So right now it's white, but if I made it blue, you can see what that changes. So you may want to, you know, try to match a color on that design. And I don't know how close I can get. Not that close. But anyway, we just keep it as white for now. So you've got that gives it a little depth. We want to make sure that we're actually highlighting this book so people can learn more about Jana and that she's going to be at Romance Genre Con. So we can add some text here. And this happens a lot. See, I've got my black background and it has defaulted to a black font. You want to make sure before you start like typing things, just go ahead and change that font color so you can see what you're doing. And I can say something like, get her latest book, and just pop that up at the top, almost like a little title page again. And if I wanted to get, fancy, I can find like an arrow or something pointing at the book that we've just put on there. This one's fun. All right, so there we go. We can twist that around a little bit, just so you can rotate any design element as many degrees as you need to make sure it's the right way for you guys. So we've got, get her latest book. We can play around with this a little more. Let's do something fun with the top of this. And I want you guys to kind of see what this looks like as a whole, right? Like this one's pretty well filled out. There's some balance to the design. This one looks super unfinished. So this is where design kind of comes into play a little bit. Like, would you as a consumer like to look at something like this? I mean, maybe if you were super interested in romance authors, but if you were just run of the mill, follower on our Facebook page, you would see something like this and be like, that looks like the bare minimum, right? So we don't want it to look like the bare minimum. We want to definitely like play around with it a little bit so we can make sure that book is nice and highlighted. Another cool thing is that if I go into our elements, you can see that this little white thing up here, this white element, kind of looks like torn paper. And we can kind of play around with that theme throughout the entire story. So if I type in torn paper, I'm going to get a bunch of different options of paper that looks like it's kind of ripped up. So I can come down here. Let's see if we can find one that we like. I kind of like this one. Looks like some old-timey paper. Definitely make that a little bigger. Let's bring it up a little bit. And now I can change my font to back to black. And, another thing we could do is play around with this font as well. So let's make this a little larger. And there's some really cool like typewriter fonts on here. All you have to do is go to change that font and type in like typewriter. And it gives me a bunch of fun little typewriter fonts. I like this one. It looks like, I don't know, somebody was writing the Great American Novel or something. So we can make that a little larger as well, just so people can see it. It's already pretty big. Play around with the spacing. I want to make sure that the line spacing is a little closer together. Get her latest book. Love it. Let's make sure we fill out the top there. And we could always, you see how we have red in this design. We can make sure that we bring some red into this design as well. Let's make sure that so while I'm designing, I'm going to make sure that I articulate what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So you can see that this element, this arrow, is actually behind that torn paper. But I wanted to move it up a little bit so I can move my designs around, but you see that it's behind there. So all we have to do is, once your element is selected, go to position and just bring it forward. And all of a sudden we've got the arrow in front. So I can maybe incorporate the red with that arrow. That way we've got some incorporation with that first design. And another thing I can do is keep these hearts consistent throughout the design as well. So I can click on this. Again, I hit my duplicate button, and all I have to do is drag that down and, maybe place it down here at the bottom. And now I've got something that looks like these two things go together, right? So in this story so far, we've got, hey, we're highlighting a local author. This is Jana McGregor. What does she write? Well, she writes A Duke in Time. Make sure to get her latest book. Now I'm going to add a third page, and I want this third page to be a quote from one of her books. So I can go to my templates. You guys know I love my templates. And I can type in quote and just see what pops up. Honestly, any of these are great. Let's just do this first one. This does not match my color scheme, so that's kind of the first thing that I want to do is just make sure that I go through and I change all those colors out. Let's change that to black. In fact, I could just take that away and make sure it's that solid black background throughout. This is kind of a tan color, so I want to make sure that I maybe bring that to a white. I've got my little quotation marks up here. I can make that my red, and you see that it's not that bright red that you see in the hearts. It's kind of faded a little bit. That's because the transparency must be a little lower than 100%. So if I click on that and I go to this transparency icon, I can see that it's at 50%. So all I have to do is bring that back to 100 to get that bright, beautiful red again. We've got a rose down here. Rose is fine. I don't know. I'm sure we could find a better one. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that element. And I'm going to move this quote up. Now, what I went ahead and did was I went to Jana McGregor's book reads page, and I found some of her quotes from her books. I really like this one. So I'm just going to copy and bring that back over to my design and paste that right in there. All right. Well, this quote was a lot longer than the one that they had in the template. So what I'm going to do is play around with the width, make sure that it fits in there nice and good. I can even make sure that I've got, I can play around with the, too small. Maybe 80. 80 looks good. Go little by little, make sure that it fits just the way you want it. And I can make sure that I attribute the author. So I've got that. I'll pop that in there where Maya Angelou is. And now we've got this like fun quote that we've pulled from her book. Again, let's go ahead and duplicate these hearts and make sure that we bring those down to stay consistent with this theme that we've got going on. And make sure that it's centered. Perfect. So all right, let's start from the beginning. We see our local author highlight. This is Jana. This is her latest book. And this is a pull quote from that book. Now, I want to make sure that I hit one more thing, and that's the fact that we have an event coming up that you can see Jana at. So what I'm going to go do is to my uploads. We've got our Romance GenreCon logo already loaded in there. I'm going to go ahead and change this background to white. In fact, I could probably play around with this a little more, but let me just show you. When you have a logo like this one, and you've got that white box around it, it limits your design elements, right? It limits the fact that, okay, well, this doesn't look good on a background that is not white. Looks fine on white. That's great. Looks weird on black. So what we can do is go to our effects, hit that background remover, and what it's going to do is going to take that white box around it. However, we see that now we've kind of lost our font in there because we had a black font on a white background. So maybe I change this to certainly not that. We've got our white background again. Let's go to photos and look at something. Let's just type in white. This is kind of a trick that I use. I go to photos and I just type in a color and it gives me lots of these like background looking things. So if I wanted, this white brick, of course we could do the white brick. I want something a little like softer. So these look like white flowers. That works for me. I'm into that. So we can make this a little larger, make sure that it really pops out. And I can, of course, add some text. I'm gonna make sure that I've got people ready to get super pumped about Romance GenreCon. While I'm at it, if you guys are romance readers, please let us know in the comments and we'll make sure that you know all about Romance GenreCon. Make sure that I'm getting my questions. Let's see, Tammy. If we make something from a template, are we able to sell? Yeah, absolutely. So if you use a template, that's your template to use. So sell whatever you need to sell using that template. That's kind of the beauty of this platform is that you it's a free platform. These designers and artists create these templates for you to use. So it's not as constricting as like YouTube or something. So this is, use the templates. I love the templates. I'm a huge template fan, but make sure that you, just make it your own. You don't have to change anything, but if you don't change anything out of the template, it's going to look kind of funny. You're going to have, what this looked like before with like a married couple wishing somebody happy Valentine's Day. So just switch it up a little bit, but you certainly don't have to attribute it to anyone. Let me see. Let's see, can I explain the point of spending this time for a post? It's only going to live 24 hours. Yes, Mary, I can explain the importance there. It seems like a lot of work for something that's going to be gone pretty quickly. However, when you're thinking about Instagram and Facebook, and we know that Facebook owns Instagram, the algorithms that are kind of working behind the scenes, they put a lot of weight on stories. And so when you as a page are utilizing stories the correct way, and sometimes it is building out these huge campaigns, and sometimes it's just taking a picture in the moment and sending it right there, which certainly doesn't take as much time. But when you utilize stories, it's weighted differently than if you just posted something that was going to stay for longer than 24 hours. And if you want to sell something, or if you want people to come to this event or register for something or whatever, you want to make sure that as many people is seeing that as possible. And stories is a good way to do that. I get it. This takes a long time. And especially if you're like me and you are like nitpicking every single thing and making sure that it looks just perfect, it does seem like, man, what am I even doing if it's not going to stay as long? But Tammy, did have a good point in that you can save certain stories into your highlights on Instagram. And that's actually something that we're going to be talking about next week, are those highlights. But you want to get careful with your highlights. You want to make sure that you're saving just the best content. So let's say a month from now, I hope to have at least 30 of these local author highlights done. Well, I wouldn't necessarily want to save every single one of these to my highlights, but maybe I would want to save each one of these first pages so people can see who the author is in their headshot. That way they can go do their research later down the road. And I can call that highlight romance local authors, right? So that is an option if you want to save some stuff. Good questions. Thank you, guys. Some Amish romance. Yes. Love me some sweet romance, some gentle romance. It's beautiful. Okay, so let's go back to adding our heading here. I want to make sure that we give people a call to action, right? So their call to action is going to be let's go ahead and capitalize that. Mark your calendars. I don't know if you've noticed, you guys, but I haven't misspelled that many things today so far. So 3 claps for me. We're going to do mark your calendars, make it nice and big and bold. We're going to put that right there. And then I want to give people the dates, right? So let's go ahead and duplicate that text, bring it down to the bottom. And we can say that this is going to be, I should know these dates, but I believe it's like the 2nd through the 6th. Megan probably knows better than me. She can correct me in the comments. So we have that down there. And all this is going to do is kind of like reiterate the fact, hey, we've got this event coming up. We've got this local author. Make sure to check her out. So once you have these created, you're going to want to download those to your computer. That's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to show you what this looks like when you are going to upload these to Instagram. Now, unfortunately, there's no way to upload images to your story, to your Instagram story from a desktop. So it's going to be a little difficult for me to show you, but I want to show you what it looks like on Facebook because I want you guys to know that you've got options. It doesn't have to just look like this. So let me go to, let's see, I've got Facebook pulled up somewhere. Here we go. So I'm going to go to our Romance GenreCon page. And you can see that I've been playing around with it a little bit today. That blue circle around my profile picture lets me know that there is a story to be viewed. So I'm going to go ahead and view it. Let's click on it. Are you ready? Romance GenreCon coming soon. Okay, perfect. So I've already set the stage, right? So I am going to exit out of that and we're going to go to publishing tools. Again, this is how you would do it on Facebook, not on Instagram, but I will show you how to do it on Instagram as well. You'd go to your creator studio. This is where you can do all sorts of fun things. And you've got a button to add to your story right there. You can also hit that create new and upload a story right there. Choose the page that you want the story to go out of. I want it to go out of the Romance GenreCon page. And you've got the option if you want to just add text, boom, you can do that. Or let's discard that. If you want to add a photo story, which is what we're going to do because we've already created those awesome images. And I need to make sure I actually save these. All right, perfect. Local author highlights, they're in there. Let's go back to, there we go. Create our photo story, local author highlights, and there's that first one. I want to upload that image. That's exactly what it's going to look like. And you see that it gives you some options over here. So if you wanted to add text on top of what we've already done, you can do that. If you want to add a button, I'm going to show you how to do that here in a second. So I'm going to share that to our story. And if you give it enough time, you'll see that it's going to show up on our Romance GenreCon page. And we're going to look at the whole thing at the very end here. So I want to add more to my story because I have more than just that first page. I'm going to create my photo story, and I'm going to choose that second image. I'm going to upload that. Now, get her latest book. This is a call to action, right? We want to make sure that we are promoting the fact that she's got a work out. So I would love to add a button here, and I'm going to see maybe shop now. A shop now button, and then it gives you the option to enter a link. So I'm going to go to Jana's page, right? Here's her book page, and let's click on that book. I believe I was already there. And you can see that you can buy the book any of these places, but I'm going to just make sure that people are directed to her page there. So I'm going to go back to my Facebook and make sure that I've got that link entered there. And I'm going to share that to my story. And you see those call to actions can be, a little push, right? So that would be another reason why you would want to utilize a story, because it does give you the option to maybe sell something or get somebody registered or let people know more about you by visiting your website or whatever that call to action is. So we can always play around with it a little more there. I do want to preface it again, we're on Facebook and we want to make sure that we are getting these posted to Instagram as well. But you would again do that on your phone. So Instagram on your phone gives you a lot more options than just adding text or adding a button. They give you so many more options. So definitely play around with the Instagram stories on your phone. Let's go ahead and get the rest of the story added. There's our third one. Going to upload that. Love it. Share it to our story. And again, our fourth one. Perfect. Mark your calendar. So again, right here, I want to make sure that I add a button, and I would say maybe learn more. And what I would do is link to the Romance GenreCon page on Midcontinent's website. I don't believe it's live yet, so I can't do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove that button for right now. But just so you guys know that that's how you would do that. Share that story. And let's see if I go back to my Facebook page, go to Romance GenreCon, let's give it a refresh. Let's view my story and see if it's all in there. There we go. There's our local author highlight. It stays for about 10 seconds and then it'll swap to the next one. Get her latest book. There's my shop now button. If I click on that, then it's going to let me take off to her page. I'm not going to do it just yet. There's a nice little love quote. And if I skip to the next one, there's our fourth story. So that's kind of the basics of creating that story in Canva and then scheduling it into Facebook. Like I said, it gets a little different when you're actually using your phone. And let me see if I can show you on my phone what that looks like. the first thing I'm going to need to do is find out where I am. Okay, here we are. So if I go to my files here, I go to my downloads, and I don't do these by size. I do these by date added. Mostly just talking to myself, you guys. But I'm going to make sure that I get these actually sent to my phone. I want to make sure that they show up. And I'm going to share. Let's airdrop them. And hope that my phone pops up. There it is. If you guys are using Apple products, AirDrop is maybe one of my favorite things in the entire world. There's no like texting things back and forth or emailing files back and forth. It's just boom, it comes right to my phone. So AirDrop, giant fan. Does the same thing apply to LinkedIn? No, LinkedIn doesn't have stories right now, so you don't need to worry about doing this on LinkedIn. But great question. LinkedIn is very much a professional network, and so they don't really care what you're doing every 24 hours. They just want like the good bulk of your industry content and like establishing yourself as like a thought leader in your industry. So this is not something that you would need to use. Android user. Yeah, I love a good Android. Unfortunately, I'm like surrounded by Apple products. So what are you going to do? Okay, so let me see if I can, I'm going to like turn my phone around and hope that you guys can see it. So I've got my images on my phone right now. And if I go to Instagram, I'm logged on as Square One. Ideally, this would be a romance genre page, but it's not. But I'm just going to show you how to do it anyway. So I would hit my icon, my profile picture up at the top, and that's how it's going to prompt me to create a new story. It's going to default to your camera. So this is my hand, like trippy. What's up, guys? So it's going to show you your camera. If I click this icon down here at the bottom, then it's going to give me all of these options. So first one, I want to make sure that I've got Jana. And if I see this icon down here at the bottom, it has my Facebook page already attached here. So if I hit that button, I'll make sure you guys can see it. Okay. Yeah. So if I hit that, that's how it would get sent to your Facebook page as well as your Instagram account. So that's how you would maybe save some time. But all you'd have to do is hit that send to, and it would go out. And then you can do the same thing with all your other pictures. Now, the cool thing about this is that there are all these options up here at the top. We like stickers. We can add some fun things. I can tag Jana in this picture. I can do a hashtag so it shows up across other platforms. And when people are searching for those hashtags, I would show up. I can ask a question. I can add music to my story. There's so many more things that you can do on your mobile device when it comes to Instagram stories that you can't necessarily do on a desktop. So that all being said, if you want more information about Instagram stories and you want to have a one-on-one, I would love to play around with Instagram stories with you, and we can meet face-to-face again, woohoo, and we can have that one-on-one. So if that's a meeting that you want to set up, please message me or drop something in the comments. Megan will make sure that you've got my email, but we can set that up as well. We want to make sure that we are giving you all of the information possible, and I like talking about social media and all those stories. So if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to drop those in the comments, and I'll try to answer those. But play around with Canva. There's lots of cool things that you can do there. Probably one of the easiest things, and let me just show you this really quick on my phone, is that when you are going to, this kind of touches back on Mary's question, is that like, why would I waste so much time on something that's going to go away in 24 hours? You don't have to, right? Like I can, when I go to upload a story, I can literally just, I'm going to take a selfie. I can take a picture. Ooh, it's a bad one. And I can use my text button, right? And I can just type whatever I need to type. Let's say, hey, exclamation point. I can make that really big. And then I can say what I need to say right here in the moment. So unless you are, scheduling out or like creating these templates for a campaign, maybe you don't need to use Canva to create stories. You can do most of it utilizing the Instagram app on your phone. So I don't know. I feel like if you like the design element and if you want to make sure that you're using, consistent templates throughout your business, career, whatever, utilizing Canva right off the bat and then being able to add to that is always a great option. I love Canva. I love Instagram. I love social media. So if you have any questions regarding that, let's see, Tammy's got a question for me. Hashtags and stories. I notice the hashtags don't tag on stories. So if we use that sticker option, does it tag? Yes. Yes. If you use the sticker option for the hashtag, it does. It will make sure that gets like sucked into the giant world of that hashtag. So that is a really great thing that you pointed out, Tammy. Yeah, when you're just typing the text, it won't pull it up. But if you do use that sticker option on Instagram stories, then it will utilize that hashtag. So good question. Mary, yeah, thanks for showing up. Thanks. I mean, I really appreciate the questions. It definitely helps me, kind of steer the class. So Mary and Tammy, I appreciate all of the insight and the questions. And of course, if either of you or anybody else watching wants a one-on-one, then, drop your information. Another thing, we've got a survey. Please fill that out. That makes a huge difference, not only with the library, it makes me feel good about myself most of the time, and it helps us put on classes like this. So fill out the survey. Our stats person at the library will be really happy that you did. It's shorter, so we've actually cut down some of the questions. So if you've taken the survey in the past and you're like, oh, there's too many questions, there's fewer now. So it doesn't take as much time. Just let us know how the class was, and then also let us know what types of classes you want looking, into the future. I called this out last time. I want to make sure that I do it again. If there's something specific that you want in your business, or if you do want to schedule a one-on-one, make sure to leave your contact information in that survey, and we'll always reach out and make sure that you get the help that you need. So that being said, I appreciate you guys. We'll do it again next week, and I kind of sneak peeked it a little bit, but we're going to be talking about Instagram highlights. So we've built the stories out, but how to build those highlight bubbles. So we're going to create those icons, and we'll probably talk a little bit more about how to utilize those. So this has kind of turned into a social media class as well as a Canva class. So it's fun. We love it. All right. So I will hope to see you guys again next week. Keep your questions coming. I'll make sure that I get all those answered. Fill out that survey. You guys have an awesome 4th of July weekend. Stay safe. If you have dogs or babies or a light sleeper, sorry. Fireworks can be kind of a pain in the butt sometimes, but hope you guys have an awesome and safe and fun weekend, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.